All right, hey guys. So this is your video lesson for 5.1. We're starting the probability unit, so this is just an introduction to probability. Some of it's already here for you. The best way to do this is to go through this with me, and when you get to number 4, 5, and 6, especially 4 and 5, I really think you should do this on your own. There's on the piece of paper, the statsmedic.com/applets, and then choosing law of large numbers is a good one. I've also just linked it straight into Google Classroom for you. It's in the first, so I'll show you so you can see in our lesson 5.1, we can see right here the statplet.com/large num. What we're doing today, as you can see, interpret probability as a long-run relative frequency and understand how the law of large numbers relates to the idea of probability. So the one thing, I've already said this to y'all, but in case you're watching this because you weren't here or whatnot, at the end of the year, I typically give a survey that includes the question of which unit was the most challenging. This unit on probability is almost always like an overwhelming winner, not just like a slight winner, but an overwhelming winner. And it's just because of how you probably have been taught probability in the past, if you've even seen probability. You've probably been trained to solve problems by memorizing formulas. I'm not going to make you memorize formulas. First of all, they're on your formula sheet on the test. But also, there are other ways we can tackle probability. So let's talk about just what probability is in general. So another quick story time. I was a star basketball player in high school. You can see me right here. I look pretty cool. But I shot 80%. I was an 80% free throw shooter. So what does it mean to be an 80% free throw shooter? So what that means for us, there's a couple ways you could put it. The way I would describe it, if someone were to ask me on the street, is that each free throw has an 80% chance of going in. So that's what someone on the street, they would ask me. Every time I'm standing up there to make a free throw, there's an 80% chance it goes in. Now, if I take 100 shots, how many do you expect me to make? Well, 100 shots, we do some quick math there, and we're probably going to expect 80. But is that guaranteed? And the big idea here is no, it's not guaranteed. Something could happen, some outside source. Maybe I miss one, and now I've hit 79 out of 80. So it's not guaranteed, but we expect 80. Now, do you think there will be a streak where I make 80 in a row? If you're cheating the lesson and just looking at the key, you're going to see that I put no. But maybe, right? Maybe I do it. Maybe I don't. It's just probability. I just have an 80% chance for each free throw. So now let's get into okay, let's prove it. Let's see what happens. So you're going to go to that website. Again, it's already linked in Google Classroom, but it's also on the paper. You just have to do a couple more things if you go to the paper. So what we're going to do is we're going to scroll over to this here. Now, obviously, I stole this from someone else and I changed their name, so you can just act like it's me. Now, we're going to shoot. And I missed my first free throw. I like the little animation they get here. So, shoot my free throw. I missed. Okay, I'm going to shoot again. I made it. Now you can see I'm up to 50%. Shoot. Made it again. Made. Look, I'm on a roll. Made it. Oh, last 6 I've made. Last 7 I've made. Last 8. Made 8 in a row. But now you can see over the first 10, I'm at 80%, 8 out of 10. Okay, I'm going to quickly let's go to 20. Okay, so now there were times where I was below 80%. And you can see too, you can scroll over and kind of see the shot, what percent they were, in case you're filling out that table. Okay, I'm going to shoot just another 10. And now you can see, okay, I'm 22 out of 30. I've got 73%. So keep going. Let's go all the way to 50. And what you can see is I'm out of 50 shots, I'm at 74%. So I'm not at that 80%. And you should start to see that there's a lot of variability, like especially in the first 10, right? Like I went from 0% to 50% to 66.666% to 75, and I kept going. And then once I missed, now I'm back to 80, miss again, 72%. There's a lot of variability here. If I take 50 shots quickly, I'm still at 74%, which might show the thing of it's not guaranteed out of 100 shots that I'm going to hit 80, right? And that's one of the common myths you'll see with probabilities, that 80% probability does not mean that 100 free throws will always result in exactly 80 made. Does not mean that. So I want you to do this though, like do it with your own, see, because you're going to get something different than me, right? In fact, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just take some more shots. I'm going to take 50 more shots a few times. So boom, 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 boom. Let's go to 1,000. Okay, so I made 1,000 shots, and I'm at 79%. What I want you to notice is look at this graph here. So we have our shots on X and then our percent made on Y. And what do you notice? One of the things I hope you notice is that at the very beginning, in fact, this is even further in our first 100 shots, but at the beginning, we had a lot of variability. There's a lot of almost randomness to it, it looks like. But as we move further down and our sample size increases, we're trending towards whatever percent. In fact, it's 80% is what we're trending towards. And we can see I'm going to start shooting more. I'm going to just keep shooting more. And you'll see, let's do 3,000 shots. That'd be kind of fun. So I now made 3,000 shots, or I've attempted them, 2,410 shots. It's a little bit more than 80%. But what you can see is that it almost looks like I'm leveling out or flatlining towards the 80. A lot more variability here. As our sample size is increasing, we are seeing a leveling out to 80%. And that's the big idea here. So I want you to sketch your graph. Please go do this. Don't just copy mine. That's lame. But a couple things to notice here is that there's lots of variability at the beginning. But then we tend towards 80%. So we're getting closer to 80%. And that can be seen at the beginning of my shots. There's a lot of variability. But we're getting less variability here. You can also, some of you with the calculus mind might start thinking about how this relates to our idea of limits, right? Obviously, it's not just going to be the limit, but we're getting towards that point, right? We're never going to do limits in here, but that's maybe where your calculus brain could head, is that idea. What we want to talk about, though, this idea on number 6 is the idea of the law of large numbers. And kind of like if you had to go explain that to just a person on the street, or, you know, your parents or your brother or a 5-year-old. Our idea here is that in the short run, we're unpredictable. So here, we didn't have a lot of data here. We only had like 10 or 20 sample size. So it's unpredictable. There's variability. It's going up and down rather quickly. But as our sample size is increasing, we're becoming predictable. Becoming predictable. So in the long run, it gets more predictable and we tend towards that 80% or whatever the probability was. You could mess around with that Staplet and do like 70, 60, 30, 40, whatever percent. It's going to tend towards that as we increase our sample size. So what you may see is that in the 100 shots, did I make exactly 80 free throws? You may have seen it. But overall, if we were to poll the whole class, no. And it's due to this fact that every random sample of 100 shots is different. And this is that idea. We've already kind of seen it in Unit 4, but this is the idea of sampling variability. If you're thinking back, where have we seen that already? Unit 4 multiple choice test. If Dr. Croy is trying to figure out how many purple cars are at Richland, he takes a sample of 25, and then I go out and do my own sample of 25, I might not get the same 25. So there's going to be some variability there. Okay, next, what I want you to think, and I want you to pause the video after I finish. In the 100 shots, did I have a streak of 10 makes in a row? Do you think this is common? So pause your video, write out what you think. All right, and now, hopefully you paused your video. You probably didn't though, which, whatever, but I did, yeah, sure. I did this when I did it. I didn't do it in the video, but I did it last week, and I did. But I wouldn't say this is common, right? Like, I think we could all get to that point of this is not common. To which I would tell you that's not true. So, your next myth. Streaks or runs of several free throws made in a row are uncommon. Not true. That's a myth. They are common. In fact, I get to do my favorite teacher thing. I'm going to tell you that this streak occurs 92.8% of the time. And I'm not even going to tell you how I got that. And you're probably going to hate me for it. If you really want to know, you can look it up, but you do not need to be able to calculate that. So I'm just telling you, it is actually pretty common to have that streak. So also kind of another myth I want to talk about here is this idea like, okay, if I've made 5 in a row, I'm due to miss one. You see that a lot. Like if you watch sports, you'll see that a lot. Like, oh, this guy's done all this. He's due to make one. Typically, I know baseball. You guys hate baseball, but baseball, a hitter hasn't hit in the past 100 at bats. He has 0 hits, and people say, "Oh man, he's due for a hit." No, he's not. He's not due anything. It's probability, right? So it's just the probability every time. So just keep those myths in mind. You can see the myths. I wrote them out in the Google Classroom. All right, last one. Based on the results, what does a probability of 80% mean? And I'm going to scare you a little bit. This means that you need to interpret the probability. And that sounds scary. But you already have it. Like, after many, many shots, or we can be even more specific and say after many, many free throws, the percent of makes will approach 80%. And in all honesty, those of you that have that calculus brain may start thinking again of limits. We don't have to worry about that. But this is how we interpret. After many, many whatevers, the percent of, again, good things will approach 80%. This one here, free throws, so good things are makes. Last thing I want to leave you with before you look at the quick notes is that the probability of 80%, that's just a long run relative frequency. And that's all these probabilities are. Probabilities are just the relative frequency over a long run. So let's look now at our quick notes here, what's important. So taking all of this, let's look. So first, we have probability. And like I said, probability is just a long run relative frequency. It is just the relative frequency over many, many, many trials. It's always between 0 and 1. It's a percentage. We're not going to have negative percents with probability. It's always 0 and 1. We're not going to have 110%. It's either 0% all the way to 100%. The other thing just to remember, keep in your head, short run's unpredictable. Your smaller sample size, it's going to be more unpredictable. But the long run is predictable. And over many, many trials, the percent of successes will approach the percentage that you have for your probability. Next thing is looking at the law of large numbers. What that means, like if we gave a definition, simulated probabilities tend to get closer to the true probability as the number of trials increase. In other words, the more trials you have, the closer to the true probability you will get. And that's for simulated probabilities over many, many, many trials. All right, I really want to recommend you guys to do these, check your understandings. We will probably do these as bell ringers, this unit, because there's just a lot going on here with the practice of probability. Really just focus on practicing, doing your homework, doing these check your understandings. When you're done with these video notes, you should 1000% be doing these check your understandings. They're very important to being successful in this unit. All right, guys. You still have another one to watch here with 5.2, so I'll see you in the next one.